I'm going to jump right in. I was in my late 50s. I had just been laid off, and I was standing in my house realizing I was going to have to completely reinvent my life with zero idea how. I did not feel ready, not even close. What I had instead was a drawer full of buried creativity I had ignored for decades, and a small, stubborn pull that would not leave me alone. I could have waited until I felt ready, and I would probably still be waiting. Instead, I started while I was scared. And here is what I have learned since from teaching thousands of women who felt exactly the same way. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a set of signs. And today, I'm going to show you 5 of them. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm Anne Follett. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. Let's dive in because it's never too late to create. Welcome to this week's episode of the Creative Business Spark podcast. If you're new here, I teach women over 50 how to turn their doodles into repeating patterns using the power of Adobe Illustrator. And it allows them to build a creative life that they're proud of. And I came to this work the same way a lot of you might be coming to it. Later than I planned, definitely scared, and not at all sure I was ready. So today we're talking about that word, the word ready. Here's what I need you to know up front. You do not have to feel ready to be ready. Those are 2 different things. So many women are waiting for a feeling or a moment when the fear lifts and confidence walks in and says, okay, now you can start. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that moment usually doesn't come the way you're picturing it. The good news, however, is you may not need it to, because readiness isn't really a feeling at all. It's a set of signs, and most of them are probably already showing up in your life right now. So let's walk through all 5 of them. Sign number 1, you can't stop thinking about it. The idea keeps coming up and coming back to you over and over. Maybe you've always dreamed of putting your designs on fabric because you saw one that you loved and you thought, I wonder if I could make something like that. Or maybe you found one that wasn't what you were looking for and you had the same thought. Or maybe you've got a notebook or a folder on your computer or lots of sketchbooks. Or maybe it's just in the corner of your mind where these creative ideas keep piling up. I hear this all the time from the women in my community. So many design ideas in their heads that they just want to bring to life. One woman told me she keeps saving pictures of animals so she can draw them one day. Here's the thing. That's not a passing whim. That's a pull. You can ignore a fleeting interest, but you cannot ignore something that has followed you across decades and keeps tapping you on the shoulder. If the idea won't leave you alone, that's a sign. It means part of you already knows. Sign number 2. You're drawn to it even though the tech scares you. Let me tell you what I tell every single student. The fear of technology is not a sign that you're not ready. It's a sign that you care about doing this craft well. Nearly every woman who comes to me is nervous about Adobe Illustrator. So was I. They tell me they can barely attach a photo to an email, or they've been burned before in some course that moved way too fast and left them behind. And yet here's the part that matters. They want it anyway. That's the sign, not the absence of fear, the presence of a desire that's louder than the fear. Because if you weren't ready, the fear would win and you'd walk away. The fact that you're still here, still curious, still watching this, that means the pull is stronger than the worry. And that's exactly the person who does really well with this. Not necessarily the fearless one, the one who leans in while she's still a little scared. Sign number 3, you already make things with your hands. Now, you may not call yourself an artist, and most of the women that I work with don't. They wouldn't use a capital A to describe themselves as an artist, even if you paid them. But look at what you've already made. The women who come to me have been sewing since they were girls, quilting for 40 years, crocheting, embroidering, painting in watercolor, making cards. One woman learned to embroider on flour sack dish towels when she was 4. Another has been quilting since she was 5. That's a lifetime of creativity. You've simply never called it design. And here's what I want you to know. Surface pattern design doesn't ask you to become someone new. It just takes the making you already do and gives it a new form. One that can repeat and scale and live on products that people use every day and give as gifts and even wear themselves. The hands that made all of those things, they're ready. You've been practicing for this your whole life without even knowing it. Sign number 4, you have more space than you used to. There's often a season that quietly makes room for this. Retirement, an empty nest, a caregiving chapter that's ended, a job that fell away. For so many women I meet, the timing wasn't a plan. It was a door that opened, and they finally had the time and the energy to walk through it. And I want to gently take on the fear that hides behind this one, the fear that you're too late, that the industry is crowded, that everyone got there first. You're not too late. This isn't a race with a finish line, and it's not a room that fills up. Retailers are always hungry for fresh, original art. The world does not want another mass-produced pattern. It needs yours, made by your hand, carrying your particular way of seeing. A season that's making room for you isn't a season that's running out. It's a beginning. Sign number 5, and this one might be the quietest, but it may also be the most powerful. You're ready to put yourself first. For most of the women that I teach, investing in themselves feels foreign. They've spent years pouring into everyone else, kids, spouses, aging parents, careers. The idea of spending time and money on their own creative pursuit can feel almost selfish. And somewhere along the way, someone may have called it a silly little thing, a hobby, a phase. Maybe it was a teacher decades ago who said you had no talent. Maybe it's a voice in your own head that's still there today. So let me say this clearly. It was not silly. It was never silly. When you feel that quiet willingness to finally bet on yourself, pay attention. That's not selfishness. That's readiness wearing its plainest clothes. So let's bring these 5 together. Not one of them is a feeling of confidence. The pull that won't leave you, the curiosity louder than the fear, the hands that already make things, the season making room, and the willingness to choose yourself. None of these require you to feel ready. They only require you to notice. Every woman I've ever taught started exactly where you are right now. Unsure, a little scared, waiting for a feeling that's never going to arrive the way you expect. And the ones who begin anyway didn't begin because the fear disappeared. They began because they finally recognized the signs were already there. So here's what I'd love for you to do. Imagine looking back a year from now at the very first repeating pattern that you've made. Maybe it's on a piece of fabric. Maybe it's on wrapping paper. Maybe it's actually a blouse you're wearing yourself. It's proof, the beginning of something you almost talked yourself out of. If that stirs something in you, I want to invite you to my next Doodles Coaching Week. It's happening in the fall, and it's the place where everything I just described begins, where you take a doodle and I hold you by the hand and we turn it one step at a time into a repeating pattern inside Adobe Illustrator that you can then turn into fabric, wrapping paper, wallpaper, and pretty much any product that needs a beautiful design on it. You can head to members.artwithann.com/doodles to grab your seat. Again, that's members.artwithann.com/doodles. I'll put the link in the show notes, and if you're here watching on YouTube, I'll put it on the screen for you. Grab your early bird seat now, and you'll lock in the best price. You are more than ready than you feel. That's the truest thing I can tell you today. So here's my question. If you're being honest with yourself, which of those 5 signs is already showing up in your life? If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment below. I read every single one. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can just send me an email. You know where to find me. Go to my website, annlafollettart.com. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching today. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And if you're listening to the podcast, follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I always like to say in closing that I am Ann LaFollette. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.